You know you could be financing more pool construction projects if your customers had easier access to funds. The potential to increase your number of pool sales would go up dramatically if you could find a way to make that happen. Viking Capital has been helping pool builders connect their customers with the funds they need to build their dream backyard for over 20 years. A reliable and trusted financing partner in the pool industry, we're working with some of the leading builders in the nation to provide their customers with more approvals, lower interest rates, and larger loan amounts. Great communication is also what sets us apart. Our loan status software gives builders real-time reporting on their finance projects. Providing transparency and taking the mystery out of that process is a big part of why we're the partner of choice for pool builders from coast to coast. Want a better financing solution? Schedule a consultation with a Viking Capital representative today.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of Pool Magazine Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Joe Trusty, and today I have special guest with me, Sean Gadd, CEO and President of Latham, with us here today. It's a pleasure to have you with us today on the show.
Thanks, Joe. Great to be here.
It was great to see you and the team on TV, Sean. Congratulations on getting to ring the NASDAQ bell and on Latham's 70th anniversary this year.
Thank you very much. It's definitely a big milestone. I think congratulations to all the Latham folks that got us there. As you said, 70 years, long time, starting from a very small family-owned business in Latham to being the largest pool manufacturer. It's a big milestone, and 5 years on the NASDAQ. So very pleased with the outcome.
Yeah, definitely a big day for you guys. Now, step into the CEO role. You're coming in a really dynamic time for the industry. I mean, what are your immediate priorities for Latham, and what excites you most about the company's future?
You know, from my perspective, the business is an exciting business. The industry is a good industry. Yes, it's, going through a bit of a hard time, but, Latham's got a great brand. They've got great people. I feel really strong about our value proposition. And now that we're communicating clearly with the homeowner, I see some opportunity for us to continue to take share. And as we continue to grow, we'll get the benefit of that with leverage through our value engineering and all the things that we do in our plants that will help us to be more profitable. So I'm pretty excited. I think despite it being a relatively tough market, there's some things that actually will provide time for homeowners to actually spend more time in their homes and then hence spend more money on their homes, and we'll get to take advantage of that, as will the whole industry.
Sean, prior to you joining the team with Latham, you held a leadership role at James Hardie, and they're kind of a household name in our construction industry here, Hardie Backer Boards. Are there any insights or strategies from that experience that you're hoping to apply to your role here at Latham?
Yeah, I think there is. There's a lot of similarities. There's a couple of differences, but there's some similarities around go-to-market strategies. When I think about James Hardie, we spent a lot of energy teaching contractors how to sell in the home, how to quote a job, how to install a job. And it's at the kitchen table. The price point for a reside is around $70,000. And so very similar approach, small family-owned businesses selling a pool at the kitchen table, selling the value of the pool that they're putting in, selling the value of themselves as a dealer or a pool builder. And so I think those are a lot of similarities around the two businesses. Spend a lot of energy working with small businesses, getting them to grow, understanding how to get leads, how to generate leads within a neighborhood, and those sort of things that I think can transfer. And then, my other side of the business at Hardie was with national home builders and large home builders. And, certainly there's an opportunity where home builders in North America do, in some locations, offer homes as part of their package. And so I think we have the opportunity to take some of my relationships and the learnings we'd had in new construction and bring it over to Latham.
Thanks for sharing that. I mean, I happened to catch your recent appearance on the Schwab Network with Alex Coffey, and he mentioned that we're in a more cautious consumer environment, and part of that's being driven by higher interest rates. And at the same time, Latham has continued to gain market share. I mean, can you share what's driving that performance and how Latham's kind of been able to outperform the broader pool market?
Yeah, sure. I think as I look at what Latham has done, They've definitely separated themselves from the industry, which is, a very unique position and one that, again, sort of confirms that we have a great brand, we have a great product. Secondary, fiberglass is taking share naturally at this point in time against vinyl and a little bit against gunite and cement. And again, that goes back to the product. And then, in a time when the market's sort of in its lull and people aren't necessarily thinking about putting a pool in their backyard or spending money on their homes, it's a pretty quiet time for the industry. So we have the opportunity to, as we talked about consumers and marketing to consumers, to really differentiate ourselves where the noise isn't very high and we're able to be seen on TV through our advertising campaign. So our scale is very advantageous for us. So when I put all that together, I think with our sales organization and our footprint, we're able to continue to build on the tailwinds of a trend towards fiberglass, and then we, being the majority, are getting the benefit of that. And then, like I said, because of our national footprint, Texas might be having a bad time, but we can overcome it because the West is doing better than expected. So when I think about all those advantages that we have, that's part of the reason we're taking share and able to grow.
Sean, two of your biggest strengths lie in market development and consumer strategy. I'm sure you're hyper analytical when it comes to this stuff. So, what changes are you seeing in how homeowners approach the decision to invest in a swimming pool today compared to previous years?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a bifurcated market in that the people who've got cash are able to utilize the cash and buy a pool. I think it's important that, and there's a top third. And then there's the bottom third that's struggling to get loans and to find financing and able to do it. However, in the middle is where I think there's the opportunity. And I think if you can get it to a place where you can sell, it's an emotional sell, you can sell your pool to a homeowner, let their dreams come to life in their backyard, and allow them to see the vision of not only them spending time with their families in the backyard, but their neighborhood, their friends, and their grandchildren. I think if you can get them to start to think about it because of interest rates, no one's really selling homes and moving on. They're staying, spending more time in the home. So when you put that together, if we can get them to a place where they can believe it's affordable, which I think a pool in most cases can be, then we should be able to get a fair amount of the middle of the market to be able to move.
Let me ask you another question. In the current environment, are you seeing increased demand for fiberglass pools due to factors like installation speed, cost predictability, overall convenience? I mean, do you see that kind of trend evolving?
I see fiberglass growing. I think people are becoming more aware of the benefits of fiberglass. That is really beautiful designs. You've got high durability, low maintenance. So those are all good things for a consumer who doesn't really want to spend their time maintaining, cleaning, and working on the pool. They want to spend their time with their family in the pool. So I think people are understanding the benefit of that. And I think from the speed of construction, I think, again, when a homeowner decides they want to do it, they don't want to have to wait 4 months, 5 months to get into the pool. The seasons are short. And so from just time to decide to time to go into the pool, the shorter you can make that, the more attractive we feel it is. And obviously, fiberglass gives you all those benefits, which we like.
Latham has very strong market penetration in your segment with Schwab, though you mentioned that some markets have presented challenges. Can you expand on what challenges Latham saw the past couple of years and how it's approaching growth opportunities in markets like the southern regions moving forward?
Yeah, southern regions are a challenge, but they're also our biggest opportunity. And the number one challenge is awareness. In the southern states, the majority of pools go in with concrete or gunite. And I believe, and we've got evidence to show with our growth in Florida, that if you're able to get the consumer to understand the benefits of fiberglass, and you get together with a good dealer network that can install it at a price that's affordable and the product looks great, that you can go and win against the standard, which in that case is cement. Now, the challenge is the southern states is a very large area, and we've only sort of just we're on the tip of the iceberg. So we're spending a lot of time in Florida, doing a lot of market development activities, creating demand, bringing dealers and pool builders into our network, closing jobs, but it's sort of a slow progress. And then in the backdrop of the southern markets, while they're getting an increase in population, they've been most hit by almost overbuilt in terms of new construction housing. So you put all those things together, the market's pretty soft in the south. The good news is our share is relatively small in the south, so it doesn't really matter. We've got plenty of share to go get, and we should be able to get share no matter what market conditions occur. But certainly, it's the macro environment, the uncertainty, what's happening in the world, and the starts in terms of being down in the south make it a little bit harder. But it's getting, again, gives us quiet time to go get our message out when no one else is investing.
Thank you for sharing some of that strategy with us. Latham recently acquired Freedom Pools, strengthening its position in Australia and New Zealand. How does this acquisition expand Latham's global footprint, and what opportunities does it create for the business?
Yeah, one, it makes us number one in Australia and New Zealand. And I think that was important for us because, as a leadership team, we never quite had enough scale in Australia for us to really spend our energy and our time on it. Now it's a decent sized part of our business, and so we have the opportunity to really invest there. Secondly, Freedom has a different business model on how it goes to market. It actually does not only sell pools but installs pools as well. So I think there's certainly learnings that we want to take and potentially bring to the US. So that's a nice opportunity. And then, like all our acquisitions, it's accretive. From a EBIT perspective, we like the deal that we struck, and we like the fact that we can leverage our position in Australia, which we already have with Narellan, and sort of expand it with Freedom. So I think that it's a good purchase for us. And like I said, it's going to teach us some stuff that we will potentially bring back to the US as we think about penetrating the sand state markets.
Well, as you look ahead to the next 12 to 24 months, where do you see the biggest opportunities for growth for Latham, whether that's product, geography, new customer segments? I mean, how are you prioritizing those areas right now?
Yeah, I think of it as we've got four levers for the business. The first one is really protect and grow our core business, which is essentially the business in the Northeast and the Midwest. So we've got high market share there with vinyl and with fiberglass, and so we need to protect what we've got and grow share of wallet. The second part is the sand states. It is underpenetrated. I believe we have a better value proposition than cement. We don't have to ever get resurfaced. There's no cracking. And so those are the benefits of fiberglass that we should be able to take and leverage into the southern markets. Auto covers, obviously a very critical piece of what we've got. You know, we've got a goal of auto covers on every pool. Every new installed pool can essentially take an auto cover. An auto cover is a great alternative to fencing. One, it opens up your backyard, and two, it's a very safe and clean looking product. I do think that's an opportunity. And then the last pillar in our growth strategy would be about acquisitions. And again, those are more strategic in nature, but and opportunistic in nature. So we want to look at places or businesses that give us something we haven't sold before that's adjacent to our current product line. Open up new geographies that are, we don't exist today. And Freedom would be a good example of that. And then also just making sure that it's margin accretive so that we can continue to make more money, which ultimately allows us to invest more in growth. And that is what I see as our pillars for growth.
Sean, you've been transparent about the challenging environment that we've been in over the past couple of years. From your perspective, what are the biggest opportunities for pool builders and dealers right now to stay competitive in today's market?
Yeah, it's obviously a tough environment. I do think people feeling unsafe, not really traveling as much as they did before, whether it's overseas or internally, the cost of living has gone up. However, you know, if pool builders can get the opportunity to sit at the kitchen table and again go through the story of what a pool can do for your life in your current house for a very small investment, specifically if you're putting it into a financing tool that you can actually get to basically have your holiday while you're at home. You can have your friends over while you're at home, and your home becomes the base for the neighborhood and for the community. So I think those are great opportunities. And, when markets are tough, it's important to get your value proposition as a pool builder very clear. And again, I think selling the dream is really the most important part here, making people happy.
Strong insights. Sean, I want to thank you for taking time out today to connect with our audience and share some of your insights and your plans and strategy for 2026. I really enjoyed our conversation today.
Thank you, Joe. And so did I. Appreciate it.
That's all the time that we have left for today. Make sure to like, share, follow, and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time on another episode of Pool Magazine Podcast.
You know you could be financing more pool construction projects if your customers had easier access to funds. The potential to increase your number of pool sales would go up dramatically if you could find a way to make that happen. Viking Capital has been helping pool builders connect their customers with the funds they need to build their dream backyard for over 20 years. A reliable and trusted financing partner in the pool industry, we're working with some of the leading builders in the nation to provide their customers with more approvals, lower interest rates, and larger loan amounts. Great communication is also what sets us apart. Our loan status software gives builders real-time reporting on their finance projects. Providing transparency and taking the mystery out of that process is a big part of why we're the partner of choice for pool builders from coast to coast. Want a better financing solution? Schedule a consultation with a Viking Capital representative today.